UFC returns to Brazil this weekend with an absolutely stacked fight card. This is one you don't want to miss. I've teamed up with DraftKings Sportsbook to bring you closer to the action. Right now, all new customers that bet $5 will get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings app right now. Sign up using my code Sonnen. The crown is yours. Staying on the action and use your $200 in bonus bets on DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. Combine multiple bets together from the same fight, including number of rounds and method to victory. The more bets you combine, the more you can win. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, you can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy with a shot to win all sorts of prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. New customers can bet just $5 on any fight and receive $200 in bonus bets instantly with promo code Sonnen only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Ilia Topuria has responded to Joe Rogan. Now, the story goes like this. Joe Rogan had made a comment that Topuria, as champion, wants to be able to call his own shots, and that he had turned down a fight in Perth against Volkanovski. Now, that's all. It stops right there. But Topuria did want to correct that just by letting Joe know, hey, I never turned that fight down. I was never offered it. And Topuria made it sound as though that wouldn't be what I'd be most interested in, but we'd never gotten to that point because I was never offered it. All right. Now, hard stop right there. I just wanted to bring that up because George Masvidal never defended the BMF title. And George Masvidal, to this day, doesn't know why. He thinks he knows why. He was told an answer why, and he gobbled it right up, but he does not know why. Now, I'm not going to connect all those dots for you. I'm going to dangle this because I've done this for well over a year and you guys keep begging in the office. It's just right in front of you. But I'm just not going to tie it in. You're going to have to do it. But let me tell you another scenario. And as a clue, I'm reminding you that George Masvidal never got to defend that belt. Now, Topuria is willing to fight Max. For sure, no problem. Not just because you guys want it, not just because the rankings suggest it, not just because Max is the only person out there to call Topuria out. He's willing to do it the end. It becomes, if we're going to do it at 145 pounds, of which I am king, then my belt goes up, and I am not willing to do that against you who has a belt, unless you take the same risk and you put your belt up. Now, I know this sounds like old hat to you. I know that it does. But the new part that you haven't heard anywhere else, if we actually got to that situation, if we actually got to the spot where the UFC said, you're fighting for Topuria's belt, or you're fighting for Holloway's belt, right? We're going to do it 145 for Topuria's belt. We're going to move this up to 155. Featherweight is secured. You two are fighting. By the way, Max, you're putting the strap up. Both guys are going to have an absolute fit once their managers explain to them what the difference is. So right now, where they're both acting like I'm not going to take the risk, I got something that you want. When it comes to fight time, they're going to want to be defending that belt. The big thing that went Masvidal right over his head, to this day, doesn't get it. So, what would you do in that kind of a spot, right? I mean, let's say you're Max, and let's say that you come forward and say, yes, Ilia, I agree to those terms. I'll see you at 45. I never had a beef with you, but I sure as heck wanted my belt back. Now, all of a sudden, I do have a beef with you, so now I can get my belt back and handle business with you. And then Max looks around and goes, hey, wait a minute, my belt's not up? Boy, that's a big difference. Why is my belt not up? He's going to be begging to put his belt up, right? But this is where the irony of this comes. And it's the same thing with Topuria. Oh, we'll go do this at 150 pounds. We're going to do it for your belt, Max. When that time comes, he's going to go, wait a minute, I'm not putting my belt up. I want to put my belt up. Let me put my belt up. It's like, well, guys, do you understand why we don't have you make the fights? I mean, if you want to do it that way and you want to tell me that you're the champion and you've got all this pull and let's do it your way. And elbow and a wink, I'm going to protect you no matter what happens. You keep that title. Boy, that's going to feel pretty good, isn't it, for about 5 minutes until you realize what it is you just agreed to. When I'm looking at Topuria versus Max, I love this, and I love where it's going. I love the idea and the concept that either of them would have the ability to call these shots. And there is nothing wrong with attempting to do just that. There is nothing wrong with having a story that is so good that it gets picked up by a publisher. Right? There's nothing wrong with writing a script so well that one of the big production houses want to turn it into a movie. But there is so much more around it. Why has nobody called out Max for the belt? Why has nobody publicly called out Max? I would have covered it. I would have talked about it over here. It would have gotten that person some headlines. A lot of the dirt sheets come listen to what I have to say and then go write a story about it, right? But this is the trickle-down effect. This is how these things are done. I'm not going to come out ever while Max is going at it with Topuria and have an alternative idea for Max. That would make no sense. Right? Like, I'm not going to go, imagine this scenario. I know Max is going after Topuria, but you know what I think? I think Arman Tsarukyan, after what he proved against Charles Olive, I think it should be Tsarukyan versus Holloway. I don't think you even have to worry about the title shot. In fact, I heard that Islam is going to fight with Dustin, and we don't want to have 2 and 3 deep in number 1 contendership. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a match, and it's a great match, and everybody's going to cheer. Everybody's going to say, hey, I really like that idea. I would love to see Tsarukyan versus Max. I had never thought of it, and the BMF title is up. This sure solves a lot of problems. And that was an extremely plausible idea to have had. But they didn't go in that direction, did they? Max went after Topuria. Nobody went after Max. We have never had a fight as talked about and celebrated after the fight, aside from Bonner Griffin Part 1. We have never had a fight that has been so talked about as we have Max versus Justin Gaethje, but there has never been even a whisper of a rematch of Max versus Justin Gaethje. Now, I don't suggest for you that we go and do one, and I don't suggest for you we didn't get all of our questions answered, and while being a great fight, it was not overly a close fight. Like, I do understand all of those concepts. I just want you to concede back to me. We've never been in a spot like this where the idea, the notion, even if it was swatted away, the notion and suggestion of rematching them hasn't happened. And then when we go down and we look at Ilia Topuria, I continue to hear an assertion by Brian Ortega, but I haven't seen it by Brian. And if I missed that, guys, I'm a Brian Ortega fan, and I don't feel as though he does things that get past me, but did I miss this one? Because I have not heard anybody call out Topuria except Sean O'Malley. And Sean O'Malley, not for nothing, did it at the time that his next opponent was sitting in the front row, and he did it just to piss off Merab. O'Malley, like the great genius he is, was planting a seed to be harvested way down the line. In that exact moment, he was just trying to piss off Merab. And I haven't heard anybody else calling out Topuria. Why is that? Are you just all accepting that it's Max's? And I haven't heard anybody calling out Max. And why is that? Are you just accepting? I mean, we have a situation where Arman Tsarukyan, who is in very high demand right now, allegedly was offered a title fight against Islam, who he'd already fought, who was not the match Islam wanted. All Islam has ever asked for is give me some fresh blood. That's a pretty small request, but apparently we were going to ignore Islam's request anyway, and we were going to have him do a rematch which most of the audience never knew happened, so it would feel like a new match to them, but we're going to have him do that against Arman Tsarukyan. It did not happen. Insert Dustin Poirier. Okay, we're going to do Dustin Poirier versus Islam. We just are. Just stop asking me why. We just are. You got it? Yeah, okay, I got it. Great. But we could still give Arman a title shot, couldn't we? Because it turns out there's a second title at that same weight class. And this way we don't have to wait. And this way we don't have to have a logjam. And this way we could get some really good clarity to draw into the winner of Islam versus Dustin. All we got to do is put Max and Arman together. But nobody even considered it. That headline is out there nowhere. Nobody's talked about it. Ever. And that might be out of respect. It might be. They just doggone it. You like Max too much to call him out. Justin Gaethje couldn't build that fight. Go right. As great as Max versus Justin was, it wasn't the main event that night. That night leading into it, it was not the main event. Son of a bitch, it wasn't even a co-main event. And that speaks to your ability prior to the contest, right? Prior to the contest, those things have to be done for your placement on the card. But of course they won the day, and of course it was the people's main event. Of course that's the one that the people remember the most. And there's Ilia Topuria with nobody calling him out. Doing everything right. Topuria's doing everything right. There's Max Holloway with nobody calling him out. Max is doing everything right. Everything. These guys are doing a perfect job. It's all those around them that keep on getting this one wrong.